Well. Hey there, fellas. Come on in. I'm just finishing some wushu pork over here. Have an egg roll. We're talking about Infect and Commander. Well, more precisely, we're talking about winning with poison counters. Let's get into it, but first, hit that bell. Ah, jeez, you hit it too hard. It's just bing bong and about to wake the baby. Take it easy, man. Do something quieter, like hitting the Patreon or the memberships below, or the Ding Dang Doodle Discord. We got it all, baby. So about 2 years ago, poison counters got a little upgrade with toxic creatures, though mostly that's actually a downgrade. The mechanic is a powered down version of Infect. Infect is this creature deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters, and to players in the form of poison counters. Get 10 poison counters and you're dead. That's it. Say a creature has Toxic 1, right? Players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter. So you do the regular damage, give them a poison counter if they have Toxic 1. Toxic 2, they get 2 poison counters, etc., etc. Traditionally, Infect is, a few key cards that can unexpectedly take a player out of the game. It's kind of been a side strategy for the most part in Commander. People sometimes slap out a Blightsteel Colossus, so this is big 12 generic mana for an artifact creature, Phyrexian Golem. It's an 11/11 with Trample, Infect, and Indestructible. If this guy would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it, shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So you can't reanimate it, but you can sneak attack it in. This big, rotund beast has been slapping noobs out of the game since 2011. It's perfectly viable just to run one of these if you're in a big colorless mana deck as a way to get your opponents gone. Another classic staple is the Grafted Exoskeleton. 4 generic mana, artifact, equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Infect. Whenever this becomes unattached from a permanent, sacrifice that permanent has equipped for 2. In equipment Voltron decks where you're typically slapping in for 10 damage and up with a suited up creature, this is a staple. And of course, Phyresis, 2 mana aura, slap it on your 10+ power flying dragon or whatever, take dudes out. Tainted Strike, similar, it's a combat damage trick that just ends people's games, man. Look at this guy, dude, he's aiming right at your tainted taint, right? And then you have Corrupted Conscience, 5 mana, 3 blue for an enchantment aura, enchant creature, you control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has Infect. Steal a big old fatty and you're slapping in next turn for lethal, unless some dude kills it, Make them use that removal, brother. You also have cards like Triumph of the Hordes, 2 green sorcery. Till end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample and Infect. If you're in a creature-based green deck, tend to slap in, and you have $20. This can take out a couple opponents, and ultimately that's what the game is all about. And honestly, man, I don't think people should hate on it. I don't think it should be, 20 counters. I don't think they should change it. I don't think any of these win conditions are any better than anything else. Truthfully, the proof is in the pudding. Despite 12 or so years with this in the format, Infect does not dominate. Despite what people may think when they see it, it's pretty balanced. You might occasionally see, a loss to poison counters with one of the cards I mentioned above, one of the staples, but not bloody often. If you really want to see if something is dominating the meta, take a look at CEDH. Not too many Infect decks there, but I'm no expert on CEDH, The problem is, it kind of just feels unfair. But that's just because you're feeling that infection, brother. Don't go on vibes. Plus, the creatures that have Infect mostly suck. Well, except for a few, I have my favorites here. We got Skithrix, the Blight Dragon, 3 black legendary creature, Phyrexian Dragon Skeleton. It's 4/4 with flying and Infect. This guy's black, gains haste until end of turn, slapping right in. Black regenerated. 4 counters with evasion, not too bad. This guy used to be a ton of money, but now it's about $10. Having this in the command zone is decent, but it's a great finisher in a Voltron equipment deck as well. People call them Skittles, I guess. Then we have the Ichor Rats, 1 black creature, Phyrexian Rat. It's a 2/1 with Infect. When this guy enters, each player gets a poison counter. 3 mana for a 2/1, but distributing 3 poison counters to your opponents is great for proliferate decks, but more on that later. We also have cards like the Blighted Agent, 1 in the blue creature, Phyrexian Human Rogue. It's a 1/1, has Infect. This guy can't be blocked. Forget about it. Perfect evasion. Not even a chunky monkey can block this thing. If you mutate onto this or pump this fella, it can be a real pressure tool. I like this guy, the Spine Biter is going to bite your spine right off, dude. I tried that move a couple times, ladies do not like that. 4 green creature Phyrexian Beast. It's a 3/4, has Infect. You may have this guy assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So this is pricey at 6 mana and needs haste, of course. I used to use this in a Mimeoplasm deck. Get a bunch of counters on it, swinging for lethal with boots or greaves. Those were good times, man. Those were simpler times. I feel like this guy's a little underrated. In decks where you're creating lots of little tokens and killing them for payoffs, aristocrats, this can also just blast someone out of nowhere. Plus he's cute as heck. And that's the Flesh Eater Imp, man. Sacrifice a creature, this guy gets +1/+1 until end of turn. There are about 50 Infect creatures, but most of them are honestly not that great. How about some of these toxic creatures out here? Now this guy's very interesting, the Venerated Rot Priest. 1 green mana, creature, Phyrexian Druid, it's a 1/2, not bad, has Toxic 1. So players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter, and whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So this is great in decks where you're casting lots of spells targeting your stuff like auras, Howling Abomination decks. This can take somebody out, but I would only run it if I had some kind of loop I was doing. It's an interesting card. And aside from that, we got some beaters. That's about it, man. The Tyrannex Rex, so this guy's 7 mana for an 8/8 with Trample, Ward 4, and Haste, which is pretty pushed, honestly. Also has Toxic 4. Everybody get up, get on the floor. Phyrexian Dinosaur. This guy's 7 mana for an 8/8, man. So if he gets in for 1 damage, that opponent is getting 4 poison counters. This one's also a little pricey. We also have the Bloated Contaminator, 2 and a green creature, Phyrexian Beast. It's a 4/4 with Trample. God, dude, 3 mana for a 4/4 with Trample is fine. Also has Toxic 1. Whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. So this guy proliferates. That's one of the best things to do in an Infect deck. That's what makes those Ichor Rats so good. Say in an Atraxa deck, man. Atraxa is green, white, blue, and a black. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Angel Horror. Not horror, dude. Horror. It's a 4/4 with Flying Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. Sweet Caroline. You know, I did have a +1 counter Atraxa deck, but in 2024 you have a lot of ways to get poison counters on opponents. You know, get the poison counters out there, proliferate. That's better Commander, dude. Look at this proliferator out there, Agent Frank Horrigan. So this guy's 5 black and a green, legendary creature, mutant warrior. It's an 8/6 with Trample. This guy's indestructible as long as it attacks this turn. Whenever he enters or attacks, proliferate twice. Look at this beast, man. This guy gets it. If you want to reproduce, you either got to be funny or you got to get on that Trenbolone steroids. No baloney here, just Trenbolone, brother. Now, Agent Frank is kind of the exception to the rule, but most proliferation effects are in blue. Like the old Inexorable Tide here, it's an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate. If you're proliferating, may as well proliferate twice with old Cthulhu over here, the Techathal. This guy's the Inquiry Dominus. 2 blue, legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror. It's a 3/5 with flying. And if you would proliferate twice instead, you can also give him indestructible. He's a decent little monster. Now, there are some decent ways outside of Infect creatures that get that poison counters. You have Vraska's Fall. It's a sweet edict effect. You know, it's a common. And now it's time to proliferate. We also have Infectious Inquiry. It's a decent little draw spell. 1 mana too many. But you get those poison counters out there, brother. So listen, we talked about a few legends, although Atraxa is probably the best of the bunch to helm an Infect deck. You get all those colors, you know, you're just auto-proliferating. Atraxa is also a nasty beast if you get some +1/+1 counters on it. You don't even need Infect, you just bash them out with commander damage. But the all-will-be-one precon had this dingbat at the helm. Ixhel, Scion of Atraxa, 1 white, black, and a green for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Angel. It's a 2/5 with flying, vigilance, and toxic 2, but it has this little corrupted mechanic. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters exiles the top card of their library face down. You may look at and play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though a mana of any color to cast those spells. This kind of gets the ball rolling, has evasion, fits nicely into an Infect deck. And out of the same precon, we had Vishgraz, the Doom Hive. This guy's 2 white, black, and a green. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Insect himself. He's a 3/3 with Menace, Toxic 1. When this guy enters, create 3 little 1/1 Might artifact creature tokens. They have Toxic 1 and can't block. This guy gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. This can be a real monster if you're stacking and proliferating those poison counters. Plus it comes with 3 dudes. He rolls deep, man. Makes it a nice combo piece if you want to tutor out an Ashnod's Altar and a Nim Death Mantle. Now with Zuri, man, it changes the look a little bit. Looks a little like a drag queen out there. The Stalker of Spheres. This guy's 2 green and a blue, legendary creature, Phyrexian Elf Warrior. It's a 3/3. When he enters, you may pay 3 if you do proliferate twice, and whenever you proliferate, draw a card. This fella's a sweet proliferator, got a bit of a makeover from the Claw of Progress. Now the Claw of Progress can also be a pretty decent Infect helmed deck right there. I did build a budget deck way back in the day. I think if I was going to build an Infect themed deck though, man, probably just go with the Atraxa. And I happen to have an Atraxa I got with Commander Anthology box set like 20 years ago or something. Maybe I'll spin one up, brother. Anyways, that's Infect. That's my thoughts on Infect. I don't think people should be scared of it. I think you should utilize it. And I think you should probably use it as a little side strategy because most of the cards kind of suck. You know, Atraxa is a great +1/+1 counters commander. And you can stick in some of those new legends in there too. Atraxa's little babies, Vishgraz and Ixel. That's fun. And that's better commander, dude. Nikki G, signing off.